any minute now, I promise. Welcome back. I'm Randy Bueller here with Brian David Marshall, and I think we're all just still in shock from that Gabriel Nassif match. I mean, just talking about I watched Gabe just stagger away from the table. I've never seen anybody more in shock after losing a match, ever, in the history of the Pro Tour.
What it appears to me happened.
Yeah.
The turn where Mahara sort of right of flames into Bogart and Hellkite.
Right.
He was holding Seething Song and Dragonstorm. Song and Dragonstorm at that point.
And he chose not to go for it.
He chose not to go for him because, I mean, that was a formula for disaster for him.
Yeah, I mean, he could do the math, and it wasn't good enough. He knew Gabe had a Wrath.
So he may have lulled Nassif into a false sense of security that he didn't have a Dragonstorm draw. That that he went with the B plan.
Right. He did some stuff, got a Hellkite. Gabe wrathed it away. He did some stuff, got a Hellkite. Gabe was like, okay, I don't want to let this Hellkite kill me. Maybe I just need to commit now before he actually draws Seething Song and Dragonstorm, get another Martyr out, and try to get further ahead. I think you're right. I think Gabe thought that he was safe. And in fact, Mahara had just been sandbagging the whole time. He had a Dragonstorm. He had a Seething Song. He still needed to top deck another Seething Song to pull it off.
Right.
But, I mean, I think you do have to give Mahara credit.
I absolutely have to give Mahara credit.
I don't think Nassif had any idea he was that close to death there. Of course, he would never tap out if he realized how close he was to the brink of death. But, in fact, there was a scenario. Mahara had the cards in his hand, and Nassif may never forgive himself.
Unfortunately, Nassif had the cards in his hand as well.
Yeah, Nassif
he
had
two remand, two blue sources.
Right. He could have.
Both of those remands give him an opportunity to draw additional white cards.
Right.
In the process.
I can't remember if he had two white cards. He may have drawn a third white card.
He definitely had two, and he may have drawn a third.
If he had a third white card, he wouldn't even have died. Even just the Martyr would have been enough, because 9 life would have been enough to stay alive there. But yeah, he tapped out for the Proclamation. I honestly think that in Gabe's mind, he was, all right, I'll tap out now, because if I do nothing, and then my opponent does nothing, then what happens? Then I just take 5, and I'm in the same situation
He takes 5. He still has to then think about tapping out.
Yeah, now it's my upkeep again, and do I tap out, or do I not? I don't know. I mean, if he draws a land, he's in good shape. It really comes down to, does he think he's going to have to tap out at some point? And if the answer to that question is yes, then you may as well get it out of the way now and to give your opponent the fewest draw phases possible to punish you for it. The thing is, I think the answer to that question is no. I don't think you have to tap out.
Right.
I think if you just do nothing for a couple of turns, land is good, white cards are good, almost every draw phase gets Nassif into a better situation next turn. So I don't think he was ever going to have to go totally pants down. I think he just, I think it was just a mistake. It was a judgment call. It's not like it's absolutely mathematically incorrect, but I think it was a judgment call, and I think
maybe the result of good play on Mahara's part in terms of making the correct decision and lulling Nassif into thinking his hand, representing his hand as being something other than what it was.
That's right. I think Mahara set it up, but I think Nassif, at the end of the day, he now realizes he just made the wrong play.
Right.
He made the wrong play. He's going to take him a long time to forgive himself.
My friend Harry Rittenberg is back in New Jersey watching this, and he was chatting with me, sort of chatting one side, chatting at me on IM, and I'll forgive him. He's a Yankee fan. And he just said, "Oh my gosh, I feel like I just watched the Yankees-Red Sox 2004 playoff series again."
This is much more like the '86 Red Sox Mets. It's not like there's one play where the Yankees threw away 2004.
Because I like both of those situations.
Sure, as a Mets fan. No, that was Buckner. I mean, that was Buckner.
Yeah.
He's capable of making that play, and he just missed it. Like the one time in a million, he missed it. You know, Buckner actually had pretty good hands. Nassif actually an amazing player.
Does fatigue play a part in this?
Potentially, but Gabe looked fine. I mean, I actually think that it was
overconfidence play a part.
Yeah, I mean, and Mahara set that up, like you said. I think Gabe started to relax. I think he let his guard down. But enough behind the semifinals. It'll be Ryo Ogura and Makihito Mahara playing in the finals. But first, let's crown a world team champion.
Okay.
The Japanese are here. Katsuhiro Mori is back as the national champion. His attempt to run to defend his individual world title failed, but he can still defend the Japanese team title. These guys drafted their decks, the Japanese versus the Dutch. We had a fleet of reporters watching that match. Scott Johns, who won a Team Rochester Draft Pro Tour with Potato Nation, was watching. We just saw
some highlights of that on the
we did. College Gary Wise. Ted Knudsen was watching. John Becker has got those guys standing by. Hey, John, let's get some insight from those guys on how the draft went.
Sure thing, Randy. Hey, Scott, why don't you tell us what you saw?
So I was actually doing coverage yesterday, getting to watch all the different national teams playing against each other. And the biggest thing today is the level of experience, just completely off the charts compared to a lot of the other drafts I was watching yesterday. The first thing is, with teams, the big difference is, first off, hate matters. Unlike in an individual draft, anything your team doesn't get, the other team gets, and that's something you have to keep in mind, especially with a format like this where there's so many cards. The second big difference is, as opposed to an individual draft, you know your opponent, you know their deck they're playing, and you know that for both teams.
Yeah, so drafting against the opponent is what you're really trying to do.
Today, that was happening left and right. There was multiple layers of action,
from both teams,
adjustment going on.
Sure.
So coming into it, the thing was the Japanese had the very standard proactive plan, which was they wanted to set up certain colors in certain seats.
Okay.
They were looking to have green on the right, they wanted to have blue in the middle, and they wanted to have black on the left. The Dutch had the reactive plan. They wanted to see where their opponents ended up in colors. They wanted to try and get green against black. They wanted to try and get white splashing blue against green, and they wanted to try and get blue against blue. But depending on what kind of blue it was, they would adjust what kind of blue they were playing.
Okay.
The big thing watching the match go was watching both teams constantly adjusting, seeing what the other teams were doing.
These are some experienced teams.
I think the defining moment was originally on the right, the Japanese team ended up trying to have a pretty heavy black deck, but it ended up being actually pretty heavy red-black. Mori had started blue-red, but needed to switch to blue-green. Well, that only left white for the left chair, but there wasn't a whole lot of white at that point. So in Yamamoto's seat, I think what they finally did, where they just didn't have enough cards to make a great deck, is it seemed like every other pick he was hate drafting for the other side. So I think in the end what they ended up trying to do is probably say, we're going to punt this match. He's got a deck, you might get lucky, but mostly they punted that match to set up the two teammates with the best draft possible.
So Yamamoto's playing against Mountains?
He just started to disrupt the other team mostly.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that's necessarily, I'm sure that's not what they originally set out to do, but again, you react to the circumstance of the draft and do what you can.
Ted, do you have something about the individual matchups? What do you think they're going to come out as?
Well, as Scott noted, the Yamamoto match is going to be rough. Not just because Yamamoto's deck is not great. He didn't.
Who's Yamamoto play?
Yamamoto's playing Robert van Medevoort, and his deck is a black-red deck that you would kill for in any draft you had. He's got Endrixar, he's got Kervak, he's got 3 Strangling, so he's got Tysus, Sulphurous Blast. It's just insane against small white guys in particular. The middle match is the really tough one. Mori ended up with a pretty good blue-green deck. He's got some minor bombs in there. He's got a Moa. He's got 2 Looter, of course, which is really good against Camille's white-blue deck. Camille's white-blue deck doesn't have anything spectacular until he got a very late Ith, and then he's got a Lightning Angel that he's splashing. So that one will be the test of possibly the 2 best players at the table, and it'll decide it. The end one has Julian with a Chroma, a Stonewood Invocation, a bunch of aggro guys against a black-red deck on the Japanese side. The Japanese black-red deck is not nearly as good, and the Japanese have a lot of respect for Julian's play skill. It'll be interesting to see how the Dutch, they could sweep. It'll be close.
So one thing I was going to add, talking about now drafts and then the matchups they lead to, one of the things I think is going to be really key here is both sides were having to adjust, but the Japanese team, as they were adjusting colors, it was rippling all through all the other chairs in the Japanese team so that all 3 had to make adjustments. That wasn't the case on the Dutch side. They were making real minor tweaking adjustments. The reason that matters is several really important gold cards came out. The biggest 2 were Fiery Justice and Lightning Angel, both of which the Dutch were able to actually bounce off the Japanese, who couldn't take them because they were scrambling too much to get their decks set.
Interesting.
So the Dutch were able to take other cards and then send over the gold cards to the Japanese who couldn't take them, and then the gold cards came back, so they got to take basically, later picks for those very powerful cards. So those will be things to watch too as these matchups play out, if those gold cards play a big role.
Sure, and while Julian's deck doesn't look, as powerful on paper, maybe his opponents might, he does have that double gem hide sliver, which lets him chase that Fiery Justice and other things that might, accelerate that, say, as a Chroma.
Sure. Yeah, that was the other thing. I mean, on top of being able to play gold cards, you can also, he was not that white when a Chroma came around, but because they were so flexible, he was able to jump into it because he just had green cards at that point. He's also got a white totem, if I remember right. So he's got a significant amount of acceleration. And as he pointed out, hey, I'm playing black-red. I got a Chroma.
Hey, Ted, what do you think in the middle matchup? That Mori has looters, and those, if they come out early, those spell real trouble for Camille, right?
Absolutely. He's going to be able to sort through his draws and get the fatties that he wants. Like the green fat, especially with things like Spike Tiller, that gives him more. It's just resource management that he's going to have than Camille's able to generate.
Maybe Camille have to get those guys off the board.
He doesn't really have much. match, there were no blinks in the entire draft except for the very last pack. Camille started out with an Ivory Giant and then just didn't end up with a typical draft deck that we would normally see. On Julian's end, Scott mentioned that he's got the acceleration. He's also got a Search for Tomorrow, and he left a third Gemhide in the board because the black-red deck on the Japanese side has a Subterranean Chambler and has enough to mess with that he didn't want to get too heavy. He does have 2 Havenwood Worms, and it could be the last fatty that gets him.
Okay. Any last comments? Any predictions, Scott?
I think the big thing it's going to come down to is assuming that Yamamoto doesn't get lucky and loses his match. And even that's not for sure. It's really going to come down to the other two. I suspect that it's a really close match in the middle, and if Mori gets his looters, he's probably got an edge. But I think the Japanese are going to have to win both those tables.
So Dutch won the draft.
It's going to be a struggle. I look forward to it. A lot of it's going to come down to what they draw and how well they play, and that's the best part about Magic.
All right, we never know what happens, so let's go find out. Randy, back to you.
All right, thanks, John. Sounds like the Dutch won the draft. That's what I hear those guys saying.
Both. I looked at the Dutch decks, and Metavort's deck is just unbelievable.
Yeah, but that's the matchup the Japanese handed him.
And the only thing I wonder is, could maybe the Dutch have spread some of the wealth from that deck at some point when they realized that the Japanese were punting that match.
Well, it looks like these guys are ready to play, so we will be right back momentarily. We'll find out. Will it be the Japanese or will it be the Dutch? Stay tuned. Hello and welcome to the 2006 Magic the Gathering World Championships. I'm Randy Bueller. I'm here with Brian David Marshall, and we are at Le Lotus Noir Cafe. We're in Paris, France. We're at the Louvre, and we are ready to determine who will be the World Team Champions. The Netherlands are on the left of your screen. Japan is on the right of your screen. The Japanese won this title last year. They're trying to pull off a three-peat. They've already clinched back-to-back Player of the Year titles. They've already clinched back-to-back individual World Championships because it's Ryo Ogura versus Makihito Mahara in the World Championship Finals coming up in about an hour. But the Dutch, Camille Cornelissen, Julian Naughton, Robert Van Mettevoort, they've got a thing or two to say about this. These are the teams that people expected to play against each other in the finals, and now here we are. We're watching the national champs, Camille versus Katsu. Who do you like?
I like the Dutch.
You like the Dutch?
I like the Dutch.
Breaking up the three-peat.
I like Camille's, as talented as Mori is, I feel like maybe he could be a little overtaxed by all the amount of management he needs to do with his teammates.
Yeah, he built their constructed decks, he drafted their deck, he drafted all 3 decks, he built all 3 decks.
He's played, virtually every round of Magic there is to be played
all
this
weekend.
Week. I really like Camille and the Dutch team here.
Yeah,
I feel like they out-pro them 2-1.
It's true. Also, if you look at this is almost a sort of a descendant match from the Pro Tour Seattle Championship where Camille Cornelissen and Von Dutch defeated a Japanese team in the finals. Japanese team led by Itaru Ishida, and that's who Katsu went to for tutoring on the Team Rochester format.
Oh, I don't doubt the skills of Katsuhiro Mori for one moment.
Yeah, he's awesome, clearly. All right. Well, Camille and Katsu are a couple of turns into the first game. These are best 2 out of 3 matches, and then the tournament goes to the team that wins best 2 out of 3 matches. So Camille has a morph, as does Katsu. Katsu looks like had an Ashcoat Bear on the second turn, and Camille has an Ivory Giant winding down.
Some green-blue from Mori. That's
like they're going to trade morphs, and yep, that Brian Elemental trades for Slipstream Serpent.
Mawkor.
Camille adds a fledgling Mawkor to his board. Ashcoat Bear gets in there for 2 more. And down comes
Herdnar.
Herdnar. How good is Herdnar?
I really like Herdnar more and more every time I play with it. He's great with he's obviously terrific in a Saproling strategy, but he's also really good in the strength in any deck with strength in numbers, in the Empty the Warrens deck. He makes Sprout really good. He's it's a combat trick. I think he's a terrific card. He just really, in green-blue especially, really forces your opponent back on his heels. You know, you start playing your creatures before your combat, but you know, that's a 4/4 for 4 essentially.
Sure. Well, Camille sends in Makor for 2 and drops Giant Oyster onto the table.
A famous Pro Tour Finals card.
Hammer used that to great effect, beating Tom Gavin in the second Pro Tour ever.
Can't imagine there's a lot of answers in Maury's deck. We haven't gotten our deck list yet.
It's just blue and green.
Blue and green. I can't see what he can do very much about an oyster.
He can play a guy and attack for 4.
Plus, it's backed up by the Malkor.
Yep.
So he gets a counter on it, then he can shoot.
Yeah, Kachi's going beatdown. Attacks for 4, dropping Camille to 12. Is that the looter that came down?
No, that's Sea Sprite.
Sea Sprite.
It's called Sea Sprite, yeah. Sprite Noble. Sprite Noble, there we go. I fear I've reached maximum capacity for card names. I need to get a memory card.
Sure. That's Shuhei Yamamoto we're looking at. The word on the street, the reporters who were watching this match believe the Japanese just punted. His deck was not coming together. Robert Van Medevoort's black-red deck was coming together so beautifully that the Japanese just decided to give up on Katayama's deck and try to win the other 2 matches. Give up on Yamamoto's deck and try to have Mori and Katayama win there.
3 strangling sets in Medevoort's deck.
Crazy. He's also got like double grape shot against a deck with all 1 toughness creatures. It's just pretty much everyone has conceded Van Medevoort. John Becker, what do you see down there?
Well, Katayama come out really fast, playing cards you wouldn't expect to see in a Pro Tour final. He played the Sangrophage.
This is against Julian Naughton?
Against Julian, yeah, and a Ghost Flame Sliver, and seemed to have Julian really on the ropes, down to 8 life. But Julian peeled the Fiery Justice and cleared the board. So he's buying himself a little more time to try to build up his mana to get his big guys out and stem this bleeding. So we'll see if he can do it.
It's a nice little synergy, the Ivory Giant with Giant Oyster. Giant Oyster can only target tapped creatures.
Sure. It's one way to tap them.
Not that Mori wasn't tapping them anyway, turning them sideways to attack. But he'll be able to finish off the Herdnar next turn.
Ivory Giant stays back to play defense.
Camille's already at 12.
Yeah. Katsu directing traffic on other tables as well.
So weird to have players be able to talk in team events for me. Like my Pro Tour experience is in team events, and talking was absolutely forbidden.
What do you think of the rule change?
I really like it.
I do too.
I really like it. It feels wrong. Like I'm conditioned that it feels like it's like saying a dirty word or something.
You're not allowed to offer advice.
You're not allowed to, but I think it just makes the games much more interesting.
Yeah. More fun,
and it really shows up
the camaraderie of being in a team format. You should be able to help your teammates out. It's a team game,
and it helps show up just like really great players who are able to multitask multiple games at the same time.
Right.
I think that's just fascinating to watch that aspect of the game.
Sounds like Julian Naughton has a Chroma in play.
It's pretty good against a red-black deck, right?
He's all right.
I wonder how the Sangrophage player feels about keeping that for a couple turns with an Acroma on the board.
Yeah.
If he has an answer, he has that many fewer turns to find it.
Sangrophage is long since gone. That was that Fiery Justice part of the story. All right, so Camille has Fledgling Malkor, Giant Oyster, which was holding down a Herdnar. Now he finishes off the Herdnar. He's got Ivory Giant, Fledgling Giant, Giant Oyster. Katsuhiro Mori has an Ashcoat Bear, a Sprite Noble, and a Morph. Camille's on 12 and seems to have gummed up this board pretty good at this point.
Looks like we're getting deck lists.
Is that Venture Sliver?
That is a Venture Sliver. He's very blocky.
Yeah, I mean, 3-3. 3-3 ground guy for 5. He'll get the job done sometimes.
We got the Japanese deck lists here, so you heard Mori make white mana before when he popped his Chromatic Star. That's because I guess he was hoping to draw the
one Griffin guide.
Draw the one Griffin guide in his deck.
There's a Chroma on the banner. She's also in play. Well, Shuhei Yamamoto, written off, seems to be putting up a pretty good fight. Robert Van Metavort is facing down a Baloth with a Pentarch Ward on it and a Weatherseed Totem. He's just got a Deathspore Thallid. I think there's saw a Strangling Soot earlier. That may still be in his graveyard.
I think we just saw a Tysis hit the yard also, but it had to take down a Thallid Shell Dweller.
No, Metavort scoops him up. Wow.
You know,
Shuhei
Yamamoto
like
everyone always talks about
game 1.
Every Team Rochester event we've covered. Don't you always feel like there's one match where everyone's like, "Oh, he just punted them. They just punted that match."
Right.
And maybe without the pressure, you know, you're like, "Hey, you don't have to win. We'll cover you." But it definitely seems to happen that way quite a bit.
Sure.
I think I'd like my teammates to not tell me I had that.
Meanwhile, a Chroma has won game 1 for Julian Naughton, so each team has gotten on the board.
This game is looking pretty well in hand for Mori here, although the Spike Tiller is a little intimidating.
For Mori, you mean for...
it's looking pretty well in hand for Camille.
Camille has added Lightning Angel to his board.
We have a Spike Tiller for Mori, though, which could potentially represent 9 power of attacking creatures.
Potentially.
Yeah, there's 3 of them. He animates a forest at the end of the turn. What cards does he have? What can he doesn't have that many spells in his deck. It's very much he's got a cancel, he's got a spell burst. He's playing Lotus Bloom, interestingly. Chromatic Star, Lotus Bloom, Prismatic Lens, Griffin Guide, cancel, spell burst. I mean, he's really just got guys. He's got the one Brine Elemental as like kind of a guy trick. He's got a Hunting Moa.
Did he draft Sea Stompy?
It looks very much like one of the Sea Stompy decks. No ninjas. Yeah, I'm not really sure.
He's got looters.
Okay.
It's like a ninja.
Oh, there's a ninja. Claw Transmuter.
Sure.
Hiya! I love the Transmuter.
He's a fun guy. He's going to flip Lightning Angel and then trade for her?
That's certainly the plan. I mean, Walkcore may have something to say about it.
Yeah, I was going to say.
But then he also has Spike Tiller, so he can spike it. So. But he'll be trading a Spike Tiller counter and his Transmuter for the Lightning Angel, which seems
you do what you got to do.
Pretty reasonable. We haven't gotten the Dutch list yet.
Before blockers? Okay, resolve for free? Then before blockers.
Yep. Camille pings it, forces the Tiller counter. Katsu makes the play we expected, and now does Camille have a trick up his sleeve?
He's just going to snap back his Lightning Angel.
Snaps back the Lightning Angel. Very reasonable.
and then replay it.
Is that better than snapping the transmitter?
Sure, you kill a transmitter. Right. I mean, you're trading snapback for a card.
It's got to be disheartening for Katsu, though. Did all that work to try to take down a Lightning Angel and still hanging out. Now here's the land coming over. Is he trying to trade this for the Lightning Angel? I mean, it's a 3-3, right? There's a 3-4 Ivory Giant, a 3-4 Lightning Angel. Venser Sliver. If he moves the other spike counter onto that land, it's a 4-4 and it beats up anybody.
Does Camille double block with Venture Sliver and Ivory Giant?
I believe that's what I would do. And yes, indeed, that is exactly what Camille does. Katsu does not move the counter over, he just trades for Venture Sliver.
Lens. Morph. What morphs does he have left? Could be a Slipstream Serpent of his own. I think we've seen all his other morphs. That's almost certainly a Serpent.
Katsuhiro reading the Giant Oyster. Not a card Katsu played with the first time around, I don't think. He was Rookie of the Year in, 2000, 2001?
I believe it was 2001. It was just when the Japanese players really started going on their tremendous runs.
Homelands, on the other hand, 1996.
What was that? Was that LA 97 or was it LA 96?
LA 96.
What was LA 96? Right, LA 97 was Mirage draft, right?
Yeah, Tommy Hovey.
Yeah, that Serpent's actually somewhat dangerous for Camille here.
Sure. He's got islands.
Although he can lock it down, he can sort of chump block it and lock it down with the Oyster.
Yep.
But interesting, like there's no pump spells in Mori's deck. So all his combat's going to be honest. You know, it's what you see is what you get. His only pump spell is on morphing something. Okay, goes to shoot the Spike Tiller at the end of the turn. Going to move the counter onto probably the morph. Make a 7/7.
Don't want another 3/3 land?
An extra body to attack.
Katayama coming out again with a lot of pressure. Sangraphage and Trespasser Ilvek. And a turn 1, Suspended Corpse.
Wow.
Interesting to see if Julian can stabilize. Gemhide Sliver and Wormwood Dryad for Julian.
It doesn't sound like a terribly exciting situation. I guess the Wormwood Dryad will trade with the Sangraphage at some point.
Camille getting in there with Ivory Giant in addition to Lightning Angel. Chump block from Katsuhiro. Endrick Sar is in play for Robert Van Metavort.
Yeah, his deck is just completely ridiculous.
Dropped the first game, though. Giant Oyster grabs Katsuhiro's animated land.
And Conflagrate takes down the Slipstream Serpent. And that's game.
And Katsu scoops him up. All right. Game 1 to Camille Cornelissen. So Camille Cornelissen wins Game 1. Julian Naughton wins Game 1. And Shuhei Yamamoto wins Game 1. The Dutch taking a slight lead. Both of their pros have got their Game 1. Take a good look at Robert Van Metavort. Certainly been holding his own all weekend next to his more famous teammates. He's playing against Hidenori Katayama.
They speak pretty highly of him. I think He's got what it takes. His teammates, Robert, they think he has what it takes to be, the next successful Dutch pro.
Certainly he's got the deck this time. That's Endrick Sar, and what's the other creature he's got in play?
Looks like a Nightshade Assassin.
Nightshade Assassin. Looking across at a Savage Thallid, Amrus Seeker, and an Amrus Scout.
Looks like he's going to make it. We see Robert using the Merkle configuration. He was in Merkle Assault mode.
Scarwood Treefolk is all that's left in Katayama's hand. 14-18, and it's 0-1. Yamamoto's up a game, but looking across at that Endrick Sar can't be feeling great about his chances in game 2. His hand's pretty weak too. It's like a 9 land or 8 lands and 5 spells. Here's Cole Stoker.
And there is 6 tokens.
Wow. Cole Stoker, Deathspore Thallid, Grape Shot. Ugh. Yeah, and I get to smash into the red zone now.
14.
Yeah. Now you get to see why the Japanese decided to punt Hidenori Katayama's matchup.
Yeah, he hasn't even drawn any of his good spells yet.
Endrick Sar makes him a ton of tokens. What's he got? 9, 10, 11, 12. Just like 15 power worth of creatures, that's all.
Seeker can't be blocked. Is Robert at 2?
No. Yamamoto doing what he can.
Yeah, I'm looking at his deck. Again, he's got a Searcher tomorrow and a Fortify, are his sort of relevant spells. But I guess Mages of the Disc is probably pretty relevant. But I don't think he has time here.
There's another Grape Shot. And smash.
And that was game.
Yeah, all right. They are headed to game 3. Metavort gets the job done. Can we go to C?
We can get a chance to see Julian's game at all?
Yeah, I think we're going to go try to take a look at that. Van Metafort shuffles up for the third game. These are best 2 out of 3 matches, so whoever wins that third game, that hangs a W on the board for their team.
These always feel like they go so quickly in contrast
to
the individual matches.
Julian Doughton is up a game against Hidenori Katayama. Sounds like it's 11-16. They're about 5 turns into their second game. There you get a good look at Hidenori Katayama.
You might remember him. He played the Sandburn deck at the Japanese Nationals.
Oh, all right. Julian's got a Gemhide Sliver.
He's got a Spike Tiller.
Now he's got a Spike Tiller.
I think he'd rather have a Spike Feeder here.
Facing off, that looks like that corpse is about to come in. Julian was really disappointed not to get any spiders. He's only got 1 spider. The 2/4 spider, Penumbra Spider, so good in this matchup because his opponent's got a bunch of removal in his deck. Spider obviously takes 2 removal spells to deal with. And then the second version of the spider is black, so it can block Corpulent Corpse.
Right.
That was just a card that he had a huge value on throughout the whole draft. I mean, apparently there was only 1 at the table. Just was not able to get them.
Yeah, sometimes it takes more than 1 spell to kill a spider.
Right.
In the first place.
Trespasser, Corpulent Corpse head into the red zone. Katayama not even bothering to give them Shadow. Willing to trade 1 for Gemhide Sliver, apparently.
It probably means he has some pretty good cards in hand, I assume.
Just 1 card in hand, so.
So Julian's trying to decide whether or not he wants to block.
Camille Cornelisen's whole team is waiting to phase in. He's got If, Ivory Giant, and Ephemeron all suspended.
Are they all lined up?
Probably not.
Looks pretty close. The
If and the Giant
are lined up. Yeah, the Ephemeron's going to follow. He'll be right behind them. Well, if you turn one Giant and then turn two Ephemeron, they'll sync up, and you can set it up so that your Giant comes into play first, and the Ephemeron's not around to tap.
Makes sense.
We did one draft this weekend where I had a sequence where I went Giant, Ephemeron, Dusk Rider, Peregrine, and they all came into play on the same turn, and it was attack for 10, attack for 10.
Well, Julian is scooping them up. So that game is also headed to Game 3. Julian couldn't manage to stabilize the first one, but not this time. So he's headed to Game 3. Robert Van Mettevoort is also headed to Game 3 against Yamamoto. Camille Cornelisen still in Game 2. Oh, Camille got the scoop. Lightning Angel comes down. Yeah. Camille Cornelisen wins his match. So score 1 for the Dutch. Now they just need one more. If Van Mettevoort can pull it off, the Dutch win. If Julian Mountain can pull it off, the Dutch win. Meanwhile, if the Japanese want to go back-to-back with the team title, if they want the three-peat, they need both Hideyori Katayama and Shuhei Yamamoto to pull off their Game 3s.
Which is not the scenario. This is not the scenario that the Japanese pro community is looking for from this team. They were really, really counting on Mori to get. You're really counting on Mori to get the big win.
It's true.
And you're looking for your two wingmen who are somewhat less experienced to pick up one along the way.
Yes.
So, which match are we going to hone in on now?
We're going to watch Robert Van Mettevoort play Hidenori Katayama, and then we're going to put Julian
suspend Julian
and Hidenori. Yes. They're going to be put in the tank. They get to think about it for a few minutes. We'll watch both of these Game 3s in sequence.
Have you had when you played Under the Lights, did they have this kind of sort of coordination where some of the matches were held up for the camera, or was everyone just going and then the camera sort of chased after you?
I think everyone just went. I don't have any memory of ever waiting.
Do you think that would have any effect on you in this type of situation?
It might. It feels a little bit disruptive. I mean, it's hard to stay focused when you don't have a game to focus on. You've clearly been disrupted by the fact that you're on stage on Sunday, but I mean, these guys get paid a lot of money to perform a show. So what are you going to do, right?
Yeah. I'm just interested in some of the factors that go into their game. Looks like Mettevoort's a little
debating his plays with Camille.
Yeah, debate, and maybe a little behind here. I mean,
read off the permanents, John?
Both teams are in a great situation having Camille and Mori finish first because now they get they get the two of the best players at the table leaning over their shoulder.
Becker, what's in play on the table we're watching? So Scarwood, Treefolk, Amru Seeker,
Magus of the Disc,
and Magus of the Disc for Shuhei Yamamoto. Along with, is that a Tiller? Just a lone. Oh, it was a Shell Dweller. Is the other card for Yamamoto. Just one Halberdier for Robert Van Mettevoort. And Mettevoort continues to struggle with playmats.
Seemed to turn things around for him once he put the lands back last game. So.
What are you supposed to do when your opponent's got you on tempo? Okay, there's Grape Shot.
Right, because the Halberdier counts as a spell.
Right.
Does not have another land.
I never know what to do when your opponent has you on permanence, but then also has a disc. It's like, you have to try to get control of the board, but then if you get control of the board, it just gets disked away.
Right. Yeah, there's no good answer here. I mean, Mettevoort has so much removal. He can hope to, Dark Withering it or do something at the end of turn and then dump his hand out on the board and maybe get the edge.
What did Yamamoto?
Scarwood Treefolk's a card that has been steadily going up in value since Grand Prix New Jersey.
Which, the Treefolk?
Scarwood Treefolk, yeah, absolutely. We've been calling Scarwood Treefolk the dim brother of Magus of the Disc. He's not quite as good at sports. He's not quite as good academically.
He knows how to come into play tap, though.
But he's really big and strong.
Sure, 3/5 is not small.
3/5 is hard to kill. But he does come pre-assassinated a lot.
Sure.
Because he comes into play tapped.
Savage Stallard is interesting for Yamamoto. I mean, he picks up some counters there. It can actually live through the disc.
Sure, and he's got a counter in play.
Oh, yeah, he already has a Saproling off the Shell Dweller. So that Savage Stallard can survive the disc. Yamamoto's board looks pretty good here.
It's a really interesting combination for green-white, the regenerating your Thalids and disking away everything.
Sure, I mean, green-white not supposed to be a good color combination. I mean, it's one of the worst in the format, according to most people.
It's been pretty good.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's been pretty good.
It seems really good if you get Magus to the disc.
Yeah, absolutely. But
yet another Grape Shot.
Killing the token, attempting to kill. Okay. He has to clear those Thalids and, get some mana for some way to kill that disc.
And it burns for 1 off the Coal Stoker. 9 to 19.
You have 9? Okay. On top. Keep.
I think we're gonna
make it.
I think we're gonna get the Dutch lists right now, fresh off the computer printer. Let's take a look at how good Metavort's deck really is. So he's got 18 lands, 9 mountains and 9 swamps.
Not only 3 Strangling Soot, Dark Withering, Empty the Warren, 2 Grape Shot, 1 Sulphurous Blast, 1 Pisces. Can you have a better spell set?
No, and then he's got a Karavek the Merciless, a Death Spore Salad, an Endrixar, a Nightshade Assassin, a Skittering Monstrosity, Basalt Gargoyle, 2 Coal Stokers, Halberdier, Subterranean Shambler, sort of at odds with some of his deck, and Aaron the Relentless.
Yet somehow he's losing.
No, he seems to be falling behind to the synergy of the disc that... Oh, Pentarch Ward. And is that on red, we can only assume?
On red, suddenly there's a regenerating protection from red creature.
And Metavort is on 4 from this attack.
Yeah. Metavort's going to take 5 down to 4. Now what?
I don't think there's anything he can do. I mean, he can get the Strangling set.
Yep.
And he has to get it now. That looks like a Pendelhaven Elder.
Yamamoto's down to 2 lands in hand. He's out of gas in hand, but he's got plenty on the table. There's land number 5 for Van Metavort. Don't know if it's in time.
Endrixar, Skittering Monstrosity. It's going to be one or the other. Skittering Monstrosity.
So that's a 5/5?
It's 5/5. If he plays another creature, he has to sacrifice it, but really I think that's just going to be getting into a tussle.
But I mean, there's 3 counters on the Shell Dweller now, so the Thallid regenerates. All this does is buy a turn.
Sure.
I mean, you do what you got to do. Should Yamamoto attack with anything else?
His opponent
probably not.
4.
There's a first striking halberdier and a coal stoker.
No, he only has 3 other attackers.
Yeah, he can get in for 1 more, but loses guys. Not worth it. Yep, Skittering Monstrosity is forced to block that regenerating 5/2. Eats through a Thallid, but there'll be another one coming out next turn.
That looks like Yamamoto drew something. Oh, Or now, I assume he's going to name
Empires.
Saprolings, eh?
Yeah.
Huh? Yeah, eventually he did.
Named Saproling.
So. So that feeds his. Makes a regeneration shield for his.
Sure. Gonna be tough. What can Metaphor come up with? Strangling Soot?
Strangling Soot's destroy, right? That doesn't even do it.
Can you regenerate from Strangling Soot?
I'm pretty sure you can.
Oof. So he needs a 6 toughness black creature?
Well, there's Endrixar, but
he's just going to get chumpy. I'm not sure I understand how Robert Van Menevort puts a win together here. Think we're going to match number 3. The Dutch have already won a game. Camille Cornelissen won his match, defeating reigning world champion Katsuhiro Mori.
So it's going to fall on the shoulders of Julian Naughton?
Looks that way. It looks like Hidenori Katayama is going to win this one. Sorry, Shuhei Yamamoto is going to win this one, sending it to Hidenori Katayama.
Looks like he's just going to send the Savage.
Endrixar is forced to chump block. Yamamoto's being patient.
Removes 3 counters rather than using the one in play from earlier. I think Metavort's just going to lay down his cards here. Of course, there is an answer in Metavort's deck. He Nightshade Assassin if he has enough black cards in his hand.
Does he have enough black cards? Oh, there you go.
Showing
Nightshade Assassin revealing Kervek.
And Dark Withering.
Wow.
Oh.
That's what he needed to draw. Is it enough? He's on 4.
He's got the Pendelhaven Elder. Those are
2/2s, right?
Those are going to be 2/3s.
Oh, 2/3. So Yamamoto can attack with 4 guys?
Attack with 5 guys if he wants. 4 guys, right. He wants to keep
I don't think he would attack with the Elder.
No, of course not.
Yeah, 4 men head into the red zone. 2 Saprolings, and what are the other 2 guys?
Magus of the Disc.
Magus of the Disc, and Scarwood Treefolk.
I assume the Disc is going to get first struck to death.
Yeah, Cole Stoker's going to pick off a Saproling. Nightshade Assassin gets chumpy. It looks like 2 damage. Van Menefort loses half his life and takes down a Saproling and a Magus.
Does he have a strength in numbers here?
Nightshade Assassin?
Does he have strength in numbers? For the win?
He's slow rolling it if he does. Yeah, Van Menefort's. He thought about Nightshade Assassin in front of a Saproling, but that doesn't work. It turns into a 2/3. Yep. Yeah, you use your Elder. There you go. 2 damage and 2 creatures for 1. Magus gets first struck down. Saproling dies to Cold Stroker.
Nightshade Assassin goes away.
Yep.
He's still got another
Convocation Crier. The army of 1/1s. Pendelhaven Elder working overtime this game.
Oh, there is a Subterranean Shambler in Metavort's deck.
It's true. Now would be a good time for it. The Elder is tapped.
It would kill everything except for the...
Is that why he's attacking with Halberdier?
Maybe.
Get the 1 toughness creature in? Because it's going down anyway?
There you go.
Yeah, there's the Shambler. Oh, he even gets the wall because the wall blocked the 4 power guy.
Sure.
Wow. Nice Shambler. That guy's always good.
Still got a 3/5. Still got the Sarpadian Empires. But that buys Metavort a couple of turns.
God, what a top deck with that Nightshade Assassin. Suddenly he's actually right in this thing.
He's still got Karavak in his hand.
He's only on 5 mana.
Still got Dark Withering in his hand. Still on 5 mana.
But he has actually stabilized this board. Does he have an answer to Sarpadian Empires?
I can't imagine that he does. Let's see.
It's red,
I don't have his sideboard here.
Lets the Shambler go. Doesn't want to pay Echo. Takes down another Saproling.
He can banish the... Do you don't banish the...
Main phase? Why?
Yeah.
It's not like he wants to attack with Cold Stoker.
Yeah, no.
Lose half his life to a Saproling.
Here comes the 3/5.
Yep.
That's obviously going to get Dark Withered.
Yep. Julian Naughton and Camille Cornelison. Over the shoulder of Robert Van Metavort.
Oh, that's a Bailoff.
It's a great shot. There's your team format in action. Julian and Camille looking in.
Oh.
Trying to help.
Empty the Warrens for
Death
4
Spore
tokens.
and empty the Warrens.
He suddenly bought himself a number of turns. Maybe enough turns to get the Death Spore on Valid Online to take down another Saproling.
How does he win? He builds up to Karavak?
He gets Karavak, I guess. It's not very good.
Karavak?
No, his outlook is he's at 2.
Well, here comes. Is that a Bailoff?
That's the Bailoff. So he's gonna put 1 token in front. Is he gonna put 5? He's gonna put 6
I think
tokens.
you got to kill it.
He wants to put 6 toughness in front of it because of the strength in numbers.
Okay.
For 1.
Sure.
Right. So.
At that point, you may as well block with everything.
Yeah, at that point, you give him. I guess he doesn't want to give up the Death Spore Salad.
Right. But block with everything else. Decides to block with 1. All he's going to do is jump block. So it's Cold Stoker, 3 Goblin tokens, and a Death Spore Thallid for Robert Van Metavort. He's down to 2 life, but he's actually managed to stabilize, and there's the land for Karavak. Karavak the Merciless has come down, and Cold Stoker gets in there on offense. Maybe. The Dutch Brain Trust is debating. Julian, Camille, and Robert trying to figure out what the right play is. On the other side of the table, you got Katsuhiro Mori directing the actions of Shuhei Yamamoto. The Brain Trust says attack with 3 guys, 2 tokens, and a Cold Stoker. Maybe not. Yeah, it does seem like it's time to go offensive. Okay. Cold Stoker and 1 guy. Yamamoto's able to make a Saproling every turn with Sarpadian Empires. But now he's starting to take some real damage. There's Katsuhiro looking on. I thought they had this game. Van Metafort drew a clutch Nightshade Assassin that bought him just enough time to get up to Dark Withering and Karavek. Now Yamamoto seems to have run out of gas. Looks like Cole Stoker and Aaron the Relentless are the cards in Van Metafort's hand. Trying to figure out how much they can attack with. Wonder what Yamamoto can do to get out of this. Got a whole lot of answers to Karavek in the typical draft deck. Does have a couple of flyers in his deck. Cole Stoker into Aaron the Relentless and go. So the Dutch have put all their chips on the table. Van Metavort has no cards left in his hand, but he's added a second Cole Stoker to his board and Aaron the Relentless.
And he's still got to be worried about strength in numbers at any given moment. Although he only really has to worry about it on... Well, he has to worry about it on the Bailoff. If he tries to use it on any of his other guys, he'll be able to kill it with Karavek.
Mm-hmm. Aaron the Relentless heads over. Not enough red mana to regenerate him, but, I mean, he'll gladly trade him for a Bailoff or a couple of Saproling.
Maury watches on as his teammate tries to finish him off.
I think Maury's role is more active than watching on. I think Maury is directing the action. Decides to chump block. I think I would have triple blocked there.
Well, it's a free, I guess it's a free guy. He's got that same guy every turn.
Yeah, you can trade for the cost of just a second guy. You get Aaron gone forever.
Right. As much as Julian wants to win this, he'll be pretty happy if Robert gets it done for him here.
Oh, sure.
He's the Death Spore throws that math off, right?
Yeah, but that guy's dead anyway. Like, one of the guys is already dead to Death Spore Thallid. Okay, fine. You have to triple block because...
Well, you have to quadruple block. Because he removes the Death Spore Thallid token and kills. If you put 3 in front, it's not going to work. A lot of cards he still has to worry about. Celestial Crusader's a little... well, Nancy, I don't believe he can use Karavek. Can he use Karavek's ability but not to kill the Celestial Crusader? It'll be when he plays the spell, if he has that.
Right. Yamamoto just took 5 from Aaron that turn. They're trying to build up enough attackers to win with top deck strength of numbers. Is that the Japanese plan?
Top decked or in hand? They can't afford to give up too much life. Every spell is gonna cost him. I have to say, I did not. Again, it's been a lot of turns of events and games we've been covering. I didn't expect to see Metavort get back into this.
Yeah, if Robert Van Metavort wins, the Dutch are the world team champions.
And the three-peat, the Dubs three-peat is broken up.
It just is a three-peat. It's just a different kind of three-peat. All right, Aaron crunches over again. They're up to 3 red mana now, so he regenerates. Yeah, I think I would have tried to get a quadruple block in earlier and get rid of him.
Yeah.
I think the Japanese were playing for the strength of numbers win, but there's enough toughness on the Dutch side of the board that I don't think that was a realistic plan.
I certainly don't think that Camille and Julian, even if Robert was inclined to give him the, to give the wrong block, we're going to let him make that block.
They took it down to 5? Yeah, I don't see how Yamamoto wins from here. They've built up a bunch of saplings. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 attackers. There's 7 blockers plus Deathspore Thallid can kill a sapling.
There's almost no spell he can cast.
Right, because of Karavak.
I mean, again, this is the match that the Japanese had all but conceded. So
that's true. That's true.
They have to feel...
They need it now, though. Katsu lost to Camille.
Go to his attack step.
Yep. In they go.
Okay, so how do you block this? You have to put, so it's +5 to...
Yeah, if in fact Shuhei Yamamoto has strength of numbers in his hand, he can give somebody +5/+5.
Well, it has to be, if he's going to give somebody +5/+5, it has to be...
The Bailoff.
The Bailoff.
Because Karavak's ability is going to trigger and can deal 2 damage.
Correct.
Taking out any sapling that he might target.
Correct. So
you basically treat the
Goblin
Bailoff
token, yes,
as a 9/9 trampler.
Correct. So you have to put Karavak and 2
Cold Stokers.
Cold Stokers in the way?
Yep. Karavak and 2 Cold Stokers. He's only putting the 2 Cold Stokers?
That can't be correct.
I don't get it.
So it's an 8/8. He's only got 2 counters left on that Deathspore Thallid. So he can't make another token. I don't know. All right, he's not done. He's not done blocking.
3, 6, 7. Still not good enough.
Well, it's an 8/8 because he's going to give it -1/-1 with the Thallid.
But wait, there's 6 attackers.
Oh, there are 6 attackers. You're right. So it's an 11/11, becomes a 10/10, but he gets to kill one of the tokens before it resolves.
Right.
So it becomes a 9/9.
Oh, before it resolves. Sure.
So a 9/9 is
9/9. There's 7 power, 7 toughness in front of him.
This is a.
I don't understand why Karavak is not.
This is a potentially fatal block. He's got to put Karavak there.
What? I don't understand.
Maybe he feels that this is. Maybe he feels this is a trick to
kill Karavak.
To kill Karavak.
We must be missing something. I can't believe that Julian and Camille between them would miss this play.
So it comes +5. That's exactly what's going to happen.
There's the strength of numbers.
Maybe he has a spell in his hand. I mean, the one thing we've been ignoring.
Sure.
He has a strangling. If he has a strangling soot, he can soot 2 guys in response, shoot a guy with the strength of numbers. He has to kill a token here. Robert Medevort wants to point it out. He wants to point it out.
Yeah, he did look that way.
He has to kill a token. I mean, Strangling Soot would take care of 2 guys here.
How he targets him? Does he have 3 more points of burn?
Oh. 2 Strangling Soot. Oh, he can have he has Sulphurous Blast. No, that won't work. Sulphurous Blast gives him the draw. Oh, Soot. He Soots 2.
Strangling Soot. Strangling, so now there's only 4 attackers. So now it's +4/+4.
Kill another token. It's actually... Sure, there you go. It's
+3/+3. So it's only a 7/7, and there's 7 toughness in front of it.
No, it's an 8. Yeah, it counts itself. It's an 8. I'll take 1.
I only see 3 attackers.
Right. It's a 5/5.
Oh, interesting that because of Fortify, the Dutch were sure to point the Karavek damage at Shuhei Yamamoto. That way he couldn't also play a Fortify.
Right.
Is that it? Is that the hand? No? Yes? Maybe?
He was blocked. He thinks Yamamoto thinks that was unblocked.
No.
Okay, you win.
There it is!
That was blocked.
Congratulations to the Netherlands! Camille Cornelissen, Julian Naughton, Robert Van Mettevoort, they are the 2006 World Team Champions.
That's the first time that the Netherlands has won this title.
Yeah, it is.
A precedent.
Absolutely. Great bunch of guys. They played some great Magic. Sounds like they just plain outmaneuvered their opponents in the draft. Katsu studied it with Vitaru Ishida, but Camille gets them again.
Yeah, he's 2 for 2. He's 2 for 2 in Team Rochester.
2 for 2 in Team Rochester draft title matches against the Japanese.
It's interesting how much...
And there will not be a three-peat.
There will not be
Japanese
a three-peat,
leave one title to the rest of the world will have to content itself with 1 trophy this weekend.
They'll just have to be happy with a world champion and the player of the year.
Yeah. All right. Hi there.
Hey.
Randy Bueller, Brian David Marshall. We've just enjoyed watching the Netherlands beat the Japanese. They got them 2-0. Might have been a 3-0. Julian's deck looked pretty good.
Julian's deck looked terrific.
But at 2-0, they're done. They're high-fiving. They're clapping. They're celebrating. So we will not play out the third game. We'll never know whether Julian or Hidenori would have won that one. Your thoughts on the team tournament this year?
It was Brazil, Japan, the Netherlands coming in. Those were the 3 teams that everyone thought had the best shot at winning it. They had the 3 most high-profile rosters.
That's right.
And Japan got out to a lead early. And
they pretty much took first place along about day 2 and never let it go the whole weekend. Not until just now.
And the Netherlands and Brazil were scrambling after each other, pulling each other back, leapfrogging over each other, hitting each other with bricks, trying to get there.
Portugal got in there for a little while.
Portugal was in there for a little while.
Wales and China made a run.
Sure. But in the end, there was those 3 teams were the big teams in play, and Brazil had to content itself with getting Carlos Ramao gravy trained.
Yep. And
getting
Paulo
to level 6. And the Netherlands, Camille Cornelissen, what can you say about this guy? He's a player that a lot of people who watch the Pro Tour just sleep on this guy. He's so quiet. We caught this weird glimpse of him in, I think it was at Pro Tour Atlanta, where he talks about playing ping pong, and he opens up on one of the player interviews, and it's so startling because you realize other than what he says in that interview, you know almost nothing about him. He's a cipher. He's so under the radar, and he's just a fantastic player. He went toe to toe with John, and 2 straight Pro Tours, finished second.
Took him out twice. Took out Finkel in both those top 8s. And how about Julian Naughton?
Julian Naughton is one of my favorite Magic players in the whole world. Not only is he a terrific player, he's a young man who really exemplifies everything that's good about people who play the game. He's a good player. He's funny and irreverent without being obnoxious or cruel. He's got a great resume. He's not even 17 years old yet, or not even 18 years old yet. I think
he's 17.
Yeah, I think he's 17. It's so weird for someone who's so young. You watch his interview from yesterday to already have such a perspective on the game, this sort of like wizened perspective of he's
been playing for
I thought it was so easy when I started. I went right to World Championships. I won the World Championships, but now I know how precious this is. He's really savoring this victory.
How many people are there that have won both the individual and the team tournament? John did it.
Bob didn't do it.
No?
I'm sure Kai must have done it. Kai won the team.
Was Kai on the teams one year?
Kai was on a German team, I believe.
Maybe. Pretty rare.
Yeah. No, it's.
I mean, Katsu could have done it, but failed. Came up short. No, Julian Naughton has won both titles here at Worlds now.
Yeah.
Congratulations to him.
Building up a tremendous resume. He's been a dominant Grand Prix player. We haven't seen him break through again into Sunday on the Pro Tour, but he continues to be
right. He's in the money. He's winning Grand Prix.
Yeah, continues to win Grand Prix. He's also turned out to be, on top of everything else, a really talented writer.
Sure.
Really talented. Contributes a lot to the Grand Prix coverage staff when he's not winning the Grand Prix. Travels around the world, friends with the Japanese, friends with the French, friends with the Americans.
Yep.
Just one of the really great players in the game. Someone to keep an eye on for a long time to come. I
agree. Meanwhile, we got one title left.
Dragonstorm versus Martyrtron.
Trisketron.
Sorry. Oh, I should have.
Yeah.
Should have been Trisketron versus Martyrtron.
What kind of a day has Makihito Mahara had?
Stomach lurching day.
Yeah. He top decks to win the quarterfinals. He top decked to win the semifinals. In the quarters, he sort of miscalculated briefly, and we're not sure. We're not seeing his hand whether he actually messed up or whether he just thought he had it when he didn't. But
he may have had no other choice in that game other than to sleight of hand, probably repeal first.
Right.
To find a card, and then
what actually happened is that he calculated the only way he could win the game was to play a repeal. On a Savannah Lion, he had to draw Rite of Flame off the repeal. 2 rights left in his deck, and he drew it. He hit one of the 2 outs, managed to win Game 5 over Paulo Vitor Damarosa.
Stunning Paulo.
Absolutely, yeah.
Stunning Paulo.
Paulo, the more that turn drug on, the more Paulo realized.
Paulo seemed resigned to the loss.
Actually, Paulo was like a mulligan, and he was dealing damage as fast as he could. Thought he had it, thought he'd lost, then thought he had it, and then lost.
Yeah.
And then against Gabriel Nassif in the semifinals, a match that was supposed to be completely lopsided in Nassif's favor. Gabriel had sort of, he drew a Martyr but no white cards in Game 2, Martyr but no white cards in Game 3. Game 4 blew him out. Game 5, however, Nassif seemed like he had control of the game. He had Proclamation of Rebirth in his hand. He had 1 Martyr in play. He had 1 Martyr in the graveyard. He had 2 Remands to prevent any shenanigans from happening.
He had shown a Wrath to Mahara.
Right.
And Mahara played the subsequent turn. He could have gone for the Dragonstorm kill.
Right.
It would not have worked.
That's right.
He would have expended all the kill cards in his deck to do it, or most of them.
Right. Mahara did not fall into Nassif's trap. He, in fact, slow-rolled him a little bit, sandbagged him a little bit, and Nassif got too comfortable. And Nassif...
He was tight on mana.
Nassif made a pretty bad judgment call and probably should have won that game, but... I mean, it was a judgment call, and it might have played out that he lost anyway.
Absolutely.
But I think everyone watching, including Gabriel Nassif, now realizes he should have played that last turn differently.
Absolutely. It's really, really hard for him to lose. He may ultimately lose that game. I don't know.
Right.
But he does not
in play
lose the game on that turn or the subsequent turns.
He's got 3-4 turns to come up with, and I think all he needs is like a couple of lands or relevant spells. And you're going to draw either lands or spells. He just sort of sits back on his remands. He's going to draw either lands or spells, and I think either one puts him into a better situation. Didn't happen, though. He tapped out. He decided he was going to take 1 gamble. He was going to tap out on 1 turn to ice the game. Mahara top-decked the card he needed, and blam! It's Makihito Mahara in the finals against Ryo Ogura in his Trisketron deck. We're going to take about a 5-minute break, and we will be right back with coverage of the 2006 World Championship final match. So stay tuned. We will see you momentarily.